You are listening to the VeST with your host, Ryan Carter. Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of the VeST. I have with me tonight Josh Hansen. I will let him introduce himself and what he did for our country.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Josh Hansen, U.S. Army retired. I was a combat engineer serving in Iraq. I did 2 tours locating the explosive devices on the roads. And I was injured March '07. Spent 3 months in the hospital, years recovering from my injuries. I lost 6 men during the war, and I've lost 5 to suicide here at home, and went down a dark road myself. Thanks for having me on your program.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to have such uh, a war veteran and that has been honored and distinguished by our great country. You earned a Bronze Star. I'm surprised you didn't earn a Purple Heart on top of that. Um, but yeah, so reading into your Bronze Star that you sent me, like that sounded like some almost Black Hawk Down type of missions that you were doing, going in, rescuing people, clearing out alleys to kind of get people down and get the mission going.
Yes, it was, and I did receive a Purple Heart as well um, when I got medevaced out of Iraq. That just wasn't in my paperwork I sent you. Um, but yeah, it was extremely dangerous work. We were pulling probably one of the number one killers of our military, the IEDs, off the roads, making them safe so we could get our missions done. And it was a really rewarding job, even though it was extremely intense, obviously. Every IAD we pulled off the road was 3 lives saved from death or injury. So it was extremely rewarding every time we got those bombs off the roads. And it was really a cat mouse game. I'd get blown up by an IED, learn what they did, make sure it didn't happen again. They would change things up. I'd get blown up again. So we kind of went back and forth uh, on how to find these IEDs because they were really good at how they placed them and trying to take us out.
Yeah, I know being in the Air Force, we still have to do that VBIED training and know what to look for. But when you truly are out there, and I can only imagine what you had to go through and actually being in those situations, like that is unbelievable to know and be able to talk to someone that has gone through that. Because you see it in the movies where you see an IED go off, and normally it's a car killer. It ruins like the entire team because of what they use, with how much explosives they have, and I can't imagine going through that and being able to tell the tales that you have, and I have much respect for you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was difficult. I really learned what courage was over there. Anytime I got in that lead truck to go find bombs, it was stepping over fear, jump in that truck, and then I would get into a completely different mindset, and I just basically kind of tell myself, hey, today's a beautiful day to die. If it happens, let's roll. Let's go find these bombs on the roads. Um, and when you're doing that, I did over like 125 combat missions, and it took a serious toll on us. I mean, we were constantly under attack. They put a price tag on our heads because they were trying to stop us from taking away one of their number one killers.
Hmm.
And so constantly um, after us there in Fallujah and stuff. There was only 2 route clearance teams, 2 of our platoons there, and we had big AOs to cover uh, and a lot of routes. So it was it was definitely a mind game, And then to leave the war and come home, that's still set in your brain of don't pass this up on the road because that's going to kill you kind of thing. So it took a lot of decompressing, post traumatic stress, all that type of stuff once I got home as well.
Yeah, I know PTSD, and you hear it all the time with veterans that came home during the pretty much the beginning of the war. having to deal with certain things. And there's some great movies out there that kind of go into how PTSD can affect different people, and there's different triggers depending on what their mission base was. So I imagine depending on where you live, driving around seeing some broke down cars or seeing a big pile of trash on the side of the road, it probably messed with your brain for probably for months and months until you were able to kind of break that mentality. Um, but definitely the mantra of service before self, patriotism definitely is very strong in you. And that's one thing I wish this country would get back to is having that patriotism and having that love for the country, to put their lives on the line for the country and for the rest of the people here so they can have that freedom.
Yeah, I didn't even join the military till after 9/11, and I was 30 years old. I was a mechanic from the age of 18 until 30. I was a mechanic for pro motocross racers. So my job was basically traveling around the pro racers, going from supercrosses, outdoor nationals, and I did that from the age of 18 right up to age 30. And 9/11 affected me so much that I just told my riders, hey, you need to find another mechanic. I'm going to join the army and serve my country.
So, what teams did you work for? Who was probably the most famous um, rider that you worked for?
Yeah, back in the 90s, it was Spud Walters, Brian Spud Walters. He actually still works for Factory Honda out in Ohio. And at the time, we were racing with Yamahas with White Brothers race team, and won some other four-stroke nationals. 96, I believe it was 96 or 98. We actually pulled the whole shot up at Washougal on Jeremy McGrath and all the big dogs. So that was really fun for us.
Yeah, I know. I know. Growing up in the Northeast, so I grew up in Pennsylvania, seeing Jeremy Grath and all those Ricky Carmichael riders back then. They were phenomenal to watch. I used to go down to like the Harrisburg area, and they would do some races down that way. Um, but I can only imagine what it is like in those pits, tearing apart a motor and getting it fixed back up for the next race, and like the next day or in a couple hours, depending on what heat you're in.
Oh, definitely. It was a lot of work, and I really enjoyed it. It was high pressure. In a sense, I kind of related that to IED hunting because it was just I loved having that pressure on me to make things survive the races and everything, and it was really a great time back then through the 90s doing that for sure. It was a lot of fun. Great memories, and it was kind of hard to leave to go join the army, but needed to be done.
So you go from being a IED hunter, which is a improvised explosive device for those that are listening. I know we've said that term multiple times. Um, that can be set up literally anywhere. They can put it in a hole in the ground, in a bag of trash, in a car. Sometimes it's some things that you don't want to happen, and it could be even like a person. Um,
Right.
so going from one of those hunters down to now you got into autocross thanks to VETMotorsports, which is a unbelievable project. Um, how much did that driving help going through some of those cities over there in Iraq and Fallujah area help you kind of transition into that?
For me, I suffered a brain injury during the war, and so I really have a hard time with things sometimes. And being home from the war, and you really miss that adrenaline rush of the IED hunting and being around all the guys. And I was really missing my motocross years once I got home as well. So I contacted Peter Cline from VETMotorsports and just said, hey, injured veteran, I'd really like to get racing my Dodge Challenger in autocross. Is there any way you can help me get involved? And Peter jumped on emails, contacted the Utah SCCA region here for me. Basically, walked me through the whole setup to help me get involved, and it was just amazing. I mean, VETMotorsports has just been fantastic. This is going on my second year with them. Last year was my rookie year, and I ended up finishing third place overall. And this year I ended up finishing fourth place in the Cam C class. And it's such an incredible sport. I just absolutely love it.
So, for the listeners that don't know exactly what autocross is, can you explain that to them what autocross is and how it differs from like road racing or oval racing?
Sure. Autocross can basically be set up in any large parking lot with road cones, and the cones, the way they're laid out on the ground, lets you know where you need to turn, or if you're going through a slalom, and you're basically racing around the cones. If you hit a cone, and they draw chalk marks around these cones, if you hit a cone and knock it out of that chalked mark, then it adds 2 seconds to your time. So you try to avoid hidden cones, but you race around the cones, and I mean, it's really a rush. It seems like, oh, you're just in this little parking lot, but you're hitting, 50 to 60 miles an hour in these parking lots, and it turns you into a pretty good driver. I mean, you have to be a very skilled driver to get quick at this, which I had to learn my rookie season. I thought it would be easy until I got out there, and I was like, these guys are amazing drivers. Holy cow, I've got a lot to learn uh, in my driving skills to do this sport. But it's really fabulous. I mean, it's incredible. Your times roughly are like 40 to 60 second, single car. You just go out just by yourself, one car at a time. So it's a very safe sport, not very hard on the vehicle, and you do these timed runs, and then whoever has the fastest time out of your 4 to 8 runs uh, wins the day. And so it's extremely fun to uh, follow your times and keep pushing yourself to get faster each time out. I hope that helped.
No, that's a perfect explanation. Um, so I was actually talking with a member that I got to go inspect out in Altus, Oklahoma, and he actually does some autocross. I forget what car he has. I think he has a Camaro. Um, but he was telling me how much tires are and all that stuff. So going through, he went through probably a set of tires about twice a year in his car, depending on how many times he ran. Um, but I know I've seen autocross once or twice working with SCCA down here in Alabama in the southeast region. But those lanes that you're driving on, you're going 40, 50 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit faster depending on the course. And that lane is probably no bigger than an average lane on the street. And then you're having to get on the brakes and make sharp corners and different moves. Like I'm surprised a lot how efficient the drivers are at these tight courses and how fast and quick they can get up to speed, and also get down to speed to make these corners.
Yeah, and I do this in a Dodge Challenger, which is probably the absolute worst car to try doing autocross in. But I've proven that the Challenger can be very competitive. It's a large, heavy car. Um, but to be able to get out there and actually beat Camaros and Mustangs in it has been pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of proven to people that Dodge Challenger can be competitive in autocross, but they are tight courses. I mean, when I walk a course, I'll be like, I don't know if my car can fit through here. And the guys that I race against, they'll joke and say, hey, do you think you can get that boat to make it around this corner or through that gate? And we joke about it all the time, but it's really made me a lot better driver. And when I go do a big track where you're going up to speeds like 120 on the big tracks like we have out here at the UMC racetrack, that seems so much more simpler to me than autocross, because there's so much going on in a little space. You really have to be thinking to to where the big track I can just keep my speeds up and flow through corners. So there is a big difference, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing both of them.
So you're saying that you compete against like Camaros and Mustangs. So do you not compete against like say like a Subaru or some like the Honda Civics or any smaller cars then?
Yeah, in autocross, everything there is a lot of different classes to make sure it's fair for everyone. My class is called the Camp C, Contemporary American Muscle Car
Okay.
class, and then you'll have different classes for the Subaru, your Hondas. So just classing your car can be probably the hardest part of autocross. But once you get your car classed and you show up to the race, which if you're having a difficult time, they can help you class your vehicle. So it makes it competitive for everyone. You know, a lot of Miatas are out there, so you'll see a lot of Miatas in their classes as well. So it just tries to make everything more fair for everyone, so no one's just totally getting clobbered by a Miata if it's a tight track, or if it's a big, more open track, they're not getting clobbered by the big V8 muscle cars. So it makes it really fair for everyone, and it just makes it very exciting to get out there and see what you can do against others. It's a great sport to get involved in, and VETMotorsports has been fabulous to help me get involved.
So how have you had the opportunity to run into any other veterans out there on the track that you typically see on like either a week to week basis or anytime you go to events?
Yes, I've run into a few veterans throughout the year, you know, and it's usually uh, my sticker on my car that has the VETMotorsports logo on it that draws their attention. And we get speaking, and you know, depending on what era they served, what branch, it really has brought like a brotherhood together at the race. When you, because the military has like their own little brotherhood, and when you start meeting other drivers that are military, you just kind of get clicking right away, and it's really fun. Even if they're not even in my class, or they're even in a different class, we'll still compare times against each other and help each other out. You know, hey, come ride with me, so you can see the course or see what I'm doing differently than you, and it's really neat to have that camaraderie at the races as well.
Yeah. I know being military, we always joke with each other saying Air Force is the best or Army's the best, Marines the best, and we always pick on each other. But when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we're all brothers and sisters, so we always look after each other and care for each other. Um, Especially my dad was Army, my mom was Army, so I've seen that. Um, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Kind of
Just the rivalry
yeah
between each other.
rivalry. Um, but anytime we're out in public and we know, hey, this guy was Army, this guy's Marines, and someone else starts picking on us, we all just go to that person like, not happening, not today.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, we had a fast mover from the Air Force bail us out when we were being overrun in a situation over in Iraq, and I'll tell you what, I really have a hard time joking against Air Force anymore after that experience, because they really saved our butts that day.
Yeah, I never got to work on a fighter. The closest thing to helping out the Army and Navy Marine guys was the CV-22. That's probably the most fun mission I've had working special ops. But the C-130 mission, I know we've done a few missions where we dropped some people off and they went and took care of business. So, um, how would you say getting into autocross and with the help of VETMotorsports has really helped your mental health and helped you get through some of the struggles that you've stated already?
uh, well, the main thing, I think autocross, because the courses change all the time and you have to learn the courses, has been fabulous for my brain injury. You know, to heal a brain, you need to keep it active. And so the first few races, I was just absolutely lost on course. And then it made me have to get muscle memory and train my brain to follow the cones and slow down to understand how things worked, and then my brain got more used to it, which is always better for you. And then it's such a fun environment to be around. I mean, all the people from the Utah SCCA here has been so helpful. I mean, a lot of civilian friends have jumped in to help me with my driving skills, um, which helps me communicate better with civilians. You know, when you come back from the war, you just hate to be away from around anyone. You know, I was always isolating myself, never getting out of the house, doing anything. Just wanted to avoid people altogether. And by VETMotorsports getting me involved in autocross, I've met so many incredible civilian friends that were more than happy to help me learn to drive faster and learn the courses. If I was struggling, hey, let me come ride with you, and I'll point the course out to you, that type of thing. And then the adrenaline rush of it is in such a safe environment. I've had a lot of soldiers I've served with, you know, wreck their cars, wreck their motorcycles, trying to get an adrenaline rush in the wrong places, like racing up a canyon or, you know, stuff around town. And doing it in a safe environment has been really huge for me. Uh, and it's just, you know, it's so hard to explain. I can't wait for every race. It's, you know, it's kind of sad the season's over now in Utah, but, you know, come March, I'll be getting the car ready to jump back out on the course. Because I've made so many incredible friends through the autocross, and it's, to me, that's just been so healing to be around and get integrated back in with society that way.
Yeah. So your season's what, from March to about November before all the snow starts coming in down out there?
Yes, we just raced last weekend and it was about 35 degrees.
Oof.
So it was, you know, run the all season tires and just wing it.
S-
um,
So I feel like I have to ask the question. So you say you typically do these races in big parking lots or somewhat like closed courses. Have you ever gotten in trouble for practicing in, say, like a giant Walmart parking lot or doing anything like that?
it's so tempting. I mean, one of the places we race at's not far from my house, and it's just like, oh man, I'd love to go there and do some practice runs out in that parking lot. But then again, like, what if somebody comes walking through the parking lot and you're clowning around and drill them or something? So I've really had to avoid doing that. But we do have out at UMC, the Utah Motorsports Complex here in Utah. It's out in the Twilla area. You can go there and pay $20, and they set up a course, and you just go out there and run that course as many times as you want for the next hour, which is really reasonable to get out there and safely go and do some testing on the car and practice new things. Once again, in a safe environment.
Yeah. So, um, I'm sure you've probably put so many different things into your car. What would you say the best upgrade is that you've put in there? Not to give away your secrets or anything, but if someone wanted to get in there, what would you say the probably the best upgrade for them to put into the car?
Sure. You know, for me, running a Dodge Challenger, and there's absolutely nobody in this state racing one in the Cam C class. Um, and so I got a hold of Wesley Motorsports back east. Kevin Wesley races Challengers. I talked with him. I got set up with coilovers. Were really a good add-on for my vehicle because then I could, uh, you know, Wesley Motorsports has them set up specifically for the Challenger, and I could lower the car to get that body roll out. And then I also bought for my car strut tower braces, and that was the main things I've done to the car to help me get a lot of the body roll out of the car and control better. And then also I run the Yokohama uh, Alpha 052 uh, 200 tread wear tires. my first year, I raced with 340 tread wear tires, and I learned a lot with that. And I thought that was, for me, that worked really well, having the less stickier tires to learn on.
Okay.
So now the 200 tread wear tires and actually had better traction, I think it helped me control the car better as well. So for me, learning on a not the most perfect tire, I think kind of benefited me in the long run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it once you do get those higher performance tires, you already know what the car will do on the weaker ones. The higher performance are only going to accelerate your speeds and braking and turning ability on the track. Um,
Yes, yeah. I think racing with the 300 treadwear, or they were like 340. I ran the Continental Extreme Sport tire, which I think did well, but it definitely made me have to concentrate more on the transfer of weight of the vehicle because the tire, you had to do things just right, or you were going to understeer through a corner, you were going to slide out, getting on the gas too soon. To where my 200 tread, where once I switched to those, I could get away with a lot of things, and the tire would make up for it. If you that you understand that.
so how many events do you typically do on an annual basis? Do you schedule them out and know, hey, this weekend I'm here, this weekend I'm here, or is it just kind of whatever's available you kind of go to?
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, they try to put out as many races as they can get scheduled out, so you know which ones to not have anything else on. We did this year. We did like 20. I did myself 23 different races, I believe they held. Um, and so it's just scheduling around things. And out of the races, out of like the 23, they only count your 12 best races. So if you can't make every race, as long as you can at least hit 12 for the season, you can still qualify for year-end points and and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. It makes it so you can still go on vacations and do stuff and miss a few races, but yet still qualify in points.
Okay.
Uh, you know, doing that many races has just been fun though. I mean, every time we'd have 2 weeks off, I would be like lost. That's like, oh, we got to get racing. We need to get back out.
Do you typically get a like the course a few days prior so you can kind of try to memorize it prior to think, hey, how am I going to take this course? How fast can I go? So you kind of can prep your mind to that, or is it when you show up that day to an event you have to learn the course immediately?
Yes, you learn the course immediately. That is, we set the courses up in the morning of the day of the race, and they set it up, and you get one walkthrough. So you walk the course once, and then you go out and race it. There is no go out and practice. My first autocross I went to, of course, I'm used to motocross. So I walked the course and I said, so how many laps do we get for practice? And they all laughed at me. they go, they go, when they tell you to go, you're racing. There is no practice. This is practice. Uh, so it's been a real, like I say, with the brain injury from the war and different things. It's you know just like military, you adapt and overcome. You figure it out, and you just keep learning. And it makes it fun. And every course is different every weekend, obviously.
Yeah. So, with you being a part of the Utah SCCA, which is the Sports Car Club of America, have you ever gone to the national finals? I know this year, I believe it was in Indianapolis.
I really would love to go. That's kind of on a bucket list for me. Because everyone that's gone has said it's just absolutely incredible to go to and a lot of fun, and they meet a lot of great people there. So it's definitely on my list to make it back there. I think it was in Nebraska somewhere, but I can't recall.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, that would be a lot of fun to go to, and I'd even like to hit like Colorado and Idaho, hit some of the different uh, state races as well. Like even up in Montana, they hold a big one, and it would be really fun to venture out of Utah and hit a few different state races.
So, do you typically drive your car there, or do you trailer it and then just bring tires or whatever you need with you?
Um, for myself, I just drive my car there. I don't even change tires at the course. I just throw the 200s on there, drive to the. Fortunately for me, a lot of the courses are within 15-minute drive, and then we have one that's about 45 minutes. But I still just run the 200s out there, go race, and drive back home. And because I don't have truck, trailer, and all that stuff to sit and haul all my equipment there to switch tires and everything. And so my Yokohamas, I get a season out of them. Just doing autocross because it's not like a track day that can be very hard on a tire. So I get about a year out of my race tires, even driving them to the courses, and then when I'm done with a race, I'll switch and throw my other tires on for during the week. But yeah,
So that's not too bad then. At least you don't have to do all the maintenance and prep. But when you get out there, you can prep a few days before, especially if that's not your daily driver. Um, you can at least have the car set up, ready to go, knowing it's race weekend. Let's get set up on Thursday, so Friday we can just relax, kind of get focused, and Saturday go out to the course and go do your thing.
yeah, and for me, that's part of my healing process as well. I mean, getting the car washed up and cleaned and ready for the race, lifting it in the air, going through all the bolts, making sure everything's uh, sound and tight and ready for the race, so I don't have any issues. I mean, that's so peaceful to me. I mean, when I'm working on that car, you're not thinking of the death and destruction I went through during war. You're focused on your car. On race day, you're focusing about racing, and I think that's what makes it such a beautiful thing for veterans that have gone through a lot to get involved in, and that's how it really helps me with my mental health and keeping me going and the competitiveness of it. But the prepping of the car is really really enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I mean, I know being an aircraft mechanic, I'm very meticulous about my maintenance and making sure it's either the same if not better than what I had it before. So when I'm working on either my Jeep or my wife's car or even working on the aircraft, like I'm very particular about how things get done. Um, and it puts me at peace knowing that hey, I did a great job. I set everything up. It's the best it's probably gonna be, except for coming out of the factory. Um, so that I definitely feel that sentiment there of working on the cars and being able to do that stuff, and just finding ease there.
Definitely, and for me being a former mechanic for pro racers and having that adrenaline rush, I mean, my bikes couldn't fail when a rider's hitting a triple jump and they're 20 feet in the air going for 40 feet. You know what I mean? You had to make sure everything was precise and right on, and so you don't get your rider injured out there on these supercross and motocross tracks. And so for me, it's because I no longer do that, to be able to work on my own cars and do these things kind of helps me, because when I first came back from war and I lost all my mechanic and stuff, and I couldn't function to go back out and do that caliber of wrenching again, it put me through a massive depressive state, as you can imagine. So getting back into autocross and the racing environment at a different level and different, four wheels instead of two has been extremely fun for me. And sometimes when we get home from war, we want to be that same person we were before we went to war. And I've learned, I just kind of had to draw a line in the sand and say that was me then, and that was great. Here's the new me. Let's drive on with what I can do and make happen now. And it takes a while to get your brain into that mode, though. But it's been fabulous and a lot of fun. And I got to thank VETMotorsports for and Peter Cline for getting me there.
Yeah, Peter has been a godsend to me. I've probably sent out countless emails to people to try to, hey, I'm trying to help grow this and really reach veterans and try to help their mental health out, either finding a new hobby or a new sport that they can get into that might be that fix that, like you with autocross, it was that fix you needed to kind of keep your mind sharp and keep going, and learning tracks every week, or the event and working on your car, just to try try to find something. Because one thing military members have the hardest time with is coming home from such a high pace and trying to slow down and settle into civilian life. They don't know what to do, and a lot of the times, if they can't come to peace with either their PTSD or what happened in war and all that stuff, it gets the best of them and they end up taking their own lives. Um, but he has been nothing short of amazing. He's provided me several drivers now. I just interviewed Chantel Fushi, which is a racer up in Ohio. I get to interview you, and I'll have you back on for another episode talking about a product that you created. But we'll get into that the next time we talk. And then I have another member probably jumping on either this week or probably after Thanksgiving, because I don't want to intervene on his time with family, but he also uses VETMotorsports to kind of help him with his mental health. So what Peter has created with VETMotorsports is nothing short of phenomenal for veterans, and I'm actually looking forward to some of the events next year when they post that schedule. To go out and either help out, whether it's working the maintenance team to help a veteran get in on the track, or just do what I can to help grow the brand. He is an amazing person.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to see what I can do and help out as well, and trying to keep letting people be aware of it and get veterans involved, because I think it's what a lot of veterans need, but it's hard to make that initial push. But if we can get them into doing it, I think they'll fall in love with it just as much as we have, and they'll. Like I said, you can take any car to do this sport, which is phenomenal. You can get out there and get involved. The little Miatas, the guys just have a blast in those Miatas doing the races, and I'd love to see more veterans getting involved, because death by suicide is such an issue. I've lost 5 guys to suicide, and if we can get them involved in something, it's like once we get out of the military, we lose that purpose. We had this great purpose in the military, and then we come home and like, what is my purpose now? And if we can get them focusing on different events in their lives or activities, to give them that purpose to push on and something to drive for, that's kind of what we need and what we thrive. And so that's why autocross has been so great for me, and VETMotorsports, is it gives me that drive to keep wanting to do better and get faster times and place better. And that really gives me that motivation to to continue mission in life.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I mean, I haven't had to be in some of those situations that you were involved in, or my dad was involved in. But I know, come 7 years from now, when I go to retire, I'm still like, man, what am I gonna do when I grow up? Because I don't know what I'm gonna do when I retire. All I know, since the time I was like 18, 19 years old, was the military. So having this and being able to talk to so many different people and hear all their amazing stories about vet motorsports and racing, and whatever sport or activity they do to kind of help themselves kind of keep pushing on is definitely going to be not only beneficial for me, but hopefully for future members that get to listen to the podcast. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's great, and I appreciate you doing this podcast to help spread the word out about what vets are doing with their lives, and cause you never know who you're going to touch and spark and get them motivated. So I think what you're doing is fabulous. Thank you.
so one final question before we wrap this up. Did you ever think you would be, I guess you're not a professional driver, but you might as well be doing some of the things you do, and what you have done for our country. But did you ever think you'd actually get into racing?
No, no. I mean, when I bought my 2020 Dodge Challenger during the country shutdown, um, I bought it to just travel and enjoy. It's kind of like my celebration of life car. I thought, I'm going to try getting into racing. That's where VETMotorsports helped me. And I never thought I'd be where I am today. And it's been so uplifting. And my wife sees it. I mean, it doesn't only help me, but it helps my family. My family enjoys me going to the races. Like seeing how excited it makes me. And it's really changed my personality, if that makes sense to people out there, that it doesn't just help the veteran, it helps everyone around them. uh, when the veteran's happy and excited about something. So when I came home from war, I didn't care about nothing. I was so in such a dark spot in my life, and it took me a while to dig out of that hole. And this is just one other thing I've added to my life that has brightened it and made life much better to push on and continue.
Yeah, uh, I know coming from home from deployments where I was gone for 5 months at a time. It was such high pace. We were working 12 to 16 hours a day, fixing planes in 120-degree heat. You're just go, go, go. And then when you come home, everything slows down. And I know I've had this, and looking back, like, I'm like, wow, I can only imagine what other people felt being around me because I was just emotionless. Like I just separated myself from all emotion because that's you don't have time for emotions when you're over there doing missions and stuff like that. So I'm glad you're able to find joy and happiness and just grow from that. And I'm glad this has made such a positive impact not only for you but for your family. Because family is what is always going to be there for us, no matter what.
Definitely. And it's it's fun to have the kids involved, and my kids will come out and ride with me in the car, because in autocross you're allowed to have the passengers with you. And if nothing makes me happier when my kids come out and go around the course with me. My wife did it once, and my wife was like, "Whoa, this is not for me." It scared her a little bit, but um, my kids come out, and it's just so fun to and exciting for them. And even if they can't make it to the race, when I get home, they're, "How'd you place that? How did it go? Can we see your videos?" I'm on Instagram, Black Lion 971, so I post a lot of my videos on there, and it's fun for people to watch, and hopefully it motivates them to get involved as well.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you personally, not only for your service to the country and what you've given up with your bodily injuries, but thank you for just being a great spokesperson to Vet Motorsports, um, and for everything that you've done. I look forward to talking to you soon here, Josh, and I pray and hope you have a great race season and holiday season coming up.
Oh, I say the same to you, Ryan. I greatly appreciate you calling and bringing light to all of this, and appreciate what you're doing for veterans and still serving outside of the military, helping us all out. Thanks.
Yes, sir. If you want to send me a link to your Instagram, I'll add it to the episode description so more people can go out there and start following you and kind of track your race log and how you're doing out there. So,
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up another episode on the Vest. Today I got the special privilege of talking with Sergeant Joshua Hansen, a Army veteran. Tune in next time where we talk some more sports and have some fun.